Hey, what's up everybody? This is my Hot Toys Infinity War Doctor Strange review. Before I get into the review, I'd like to kind of explain what kind of reviews I do, just so people don't waste their time. I am less technical and more about how the figure fits into my collection, so I do a lot of mixing and matching with pieces and parts. And so if you're looking for like a super in-depth technical review, there's plenty out there. I'm not that guy. I'm more like a fan that wants to put these into my collection. So I've opted to do this review inside the DTOLF because I don't have good natural lighting here today in Southern California and probably for the rest of the week. As you can see, I have quite a large collection here. And so I just got Doctor Strange. Now, if you follow my movie review podcast, the Iron Koob Fights Movies, it's on iTunes and all that. It's also on YouTube, so you can probably see it. We recently reviewed Doctor Strange. And to be honest, I don't remember it being as good as it was this last time I watched it. Maybe I'm just a bigger fan of him, but I will say that in Infinity War, Doctor Strange and Thor were definitely the MVPs. Like, they got some of the best moments. And I would put the two of them over Iron Man in terms of moments. So Infinity War really sold me on Doctor Strange. And then rewatching the first Doctor Strange, I was like, why did I not get blown away by this movie? Because it's great. So that propelled me to buy the Ancient One, which I will talk about. And like I said, these reviews are kind of in the scope of the Grand Collection, which is why the Ancient One is here, because it's about the Doctor Strange line, and so far all we have is Doctor Strange, two versions of him. Now, so I'd like to start with what I like the most about this figure. Now, I've said this before in other reviews. Hot Toys has a habit of doing better on their second attempt, which sounds obvious, but you still get a lot of people who will say like the first attempt was better, especially when it comes to head sculpts. If I had to cite a few examples of where the first version was, like, let's say critically acclaimed, but ended up being kind of overrated later on when version 2 came out, let's talk about Loki the Dark World compared to Loki Ragnarok, which actually that's not a great example because there's actually more than 2 sculpts. Let's talk about the Winter Soldier, the very first Winter Soldier. So that sculpt that you see right there, plus the unmasked sculpt, it's not good. Then you get the Civil War sculpt, which is better, and then you get the Infinity War one, which is probably the best one. Another example is Star-Lord version 1. This is probably the closest example to Doctor Strange. Star-Lord version 1 had the nice expression that everybody thought was great. And the sculpt, to be honest, like, it was like an 80% sculpt. Like, it was like a B for me. But a lot of people liked it. Then this version came out, and it's like, this is like HD, and the other one is standard definition. So, and I know a lot of people will still say, like, number one, mostly due to the expression, but in terms of detailing and paint work, paint application, and the sculpt itself, aside from the expression, like, this one blows it out of the water. And I also felt that way about the first Doctor Strange. And the reason is the first head sculpt was quite a caricature of Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange. Like, it was a caricature. And I know I'm offending some people, but it was. And this one is a lot closer. Now, this one almost looks like it has exaggerated features, but the reason for that is because Benedict Cumberbatch is kind of a weird-looking dude. Like, and I think when people were criticizing the sculpt, I think they failed to consider that he really is weird-looking. And if you look at pictures of him with his furrowed brow and whatnot, it looks spot on. I think maybe the wrinkles on the head, which I'm not sure if the camera's picking up, the wrinkles on the head, especially in heavy lighting, can be a tad overdone. But if it's more standard lighting, then it doesn't show up as much. Right now, I would say it's pretty good. Like, the wrinkles don't look super heavy. But yeah, like I mean, this one blows it out of the water, if you ask me. I'm gonna pull them out here. Hopefully, yeah, the lighting's just not great right now. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so let's bring him over here. I mean, this is him. I'm not gonna say 100%, but I'm gonna say like 95% him. And 5% just pure Doctor Strange. I love his hair this time too. I didn't like the hair he had before, and I guess it was screen accurate to the first movie, but I just thought it was too. It was too bulky. Like the hair had too much volume. In this case, I mean, it still has a lot of volume, but it just seems a little more smoother, padded down, and less intrusive on your eye, let's say. Now, I was pleased to get the Time Stone, and of course that makes sense based on the movie, but, typically with Hot Toys, when a character has an Infinity Stone for one movie, they typically do not carry it again, and so you kind of have to buy that first version to get the Infinity Stone. But for me, the Time Stone has become, the Eye of Agamotto, has become kind of like an essential part of the character, even though for as far as we know it's gone now. But so I'm happy to display him with that. This is one of my favorite poses. And again, to get a little less technical about this review, and let's talk about posing and like the essential Doctor Strange. There's a guy on Facebook named Marco Art, and he has done that 1,000-hand thing that Doctor Strange does to Thanos when he's fighting Thanos, and that to me is like the most badass moment for Doctor Strange. He's got a lot of cool moments, but that to me is like one of the essential ones, and I want to pose him that way. Now, Hot Toys has provided us with this stupid backdrop, and yeah, I mean, I don't even want to bother. I don't even want to unwrap it because first of all, I'm not putting it, it's in the detail, so I'm not even going to use it like that. But it's him with the hands in the backdrop, and it's like, I guess that's cool. I mean, even they acknowledged that was one of his finest moments. But so on Marco Art, he sculpted the hands. And there's two sets. So there's like a bottom set which go under the arms, and there's a top set, and you slip magnets into the back of his coat, and then you attach the thing. The problem is he sells them for $68 unpainted. So I've been talking to him, and because I want that pose for my Doctor Strange. The other problem is the sculpt, although very well detailed, will not show up like fabric. Like the sleeves part is not going to look like fabric, but you can paint it the same color, and the cape, the cloak, I should say, the cloak of levitation will cover most of the sleeve. So I feel like it's not that big a deal. Then it's just the hands. You need someone to paint the hands properly, but I don't think that's too difficult. The real problem is with the bands on his hand. Those are complicated. Now he actually sculpted tassels onto it, and what he's done now is he's printed the band pattern on paper and then like glued them or taped them to those extra hands. Now, how did he get the tassels, the sculpted tassels above the tape they're glued on paper? That I've asked him and he hasn't responded to me, but I'm trying to find a painter that's willing to take that on as well. So if you're a painter and you're listening to this, I'm interested. I'm trying to commission that. Anyway, this figure looks really badass. Another thing about the version 2 of the figure is the tailoring. What you get in version 1 is a lot of puffiness. If you remember, like, the Star-Lord had a jacket that was nice, but it didn't quite fit right. And this version 2, obviously his tailoring is much tighter. This version 2, the tailoring is much tighter as well, based on what I've seen. Now I will say, the Ancient One is a pretty small figure. It's made by Zensation. It's a pretty small figure, like it's undersized. I don't know if you can tell based on this pose, but like he's a lot bigger than her, like significantly. I'm okay with the Ancient One being like that. However, if you were interested in the Zealot, the Caecilius figure by Zensation, he is basically the same scale as the Ancient One. And I haven't bought him, but I've looked at pictures. So he's not going to look right next to Doctor Strange. And I've looked into like a body replacement because I kind of want a Caecilius, but he has so many, like, if you look at the detailing here, which I love, like the ribbons on his boots and stuff, like that's going to be, that kind of stuff on the body is hard to deal with when you're going to swap an entire body. So like, how are you going to remove that and then put it all back in a way that makes sense and looks good? Like, I don't know about that. So I'm not totally, I don't know. I guess Caecilius will have to wait. I was really disappointed that Hot Toys didn't make him because I thought that his eye makeup would look spectacular at 1/6 scale. And especially if Hot Toys had done it with, you know, all that dark dimensions stuff under their eyes. And I was really disappointed that we didn't get that. Having said that, I was on the fence about this. I used one of my eBay coupons to get her, and she looks terrible in the promo pics, to be completely honest, but better in hand. I'm actually quite pleased with her. She does have wires in her outfit, and this causes it to kind of like wrinkle in weird ways, which is like a sign of, like, to me, a knockoff figure. They usually have like that cheap look, and she does have it, but it's close enough. Like, I'll forgive it. I mean, look at the color. Like, the color really pops on my shelf. And I'm going to try to back up all the way here, but look, it's like dark black and white brown, a little bit of purple there, a tiny bit of red on Superman, tiny bit red there, still mostly black, a little bit of green, black, white, brown. Up the Defenders look nice because it's red, green, and yellow. But just a lot of like black, you know, like that Hulk shelf looks nice, but purple. I like the Guardians because of the purple. I mean, it like, and then these two figures at the bottom, these Doctor Strange figures, really pop. So I just like them for that, and I think I'm going to actually move them maybe to this Thor shelf, and I don't know. I want to put him somewhere where you can see him a little bit higher eye level. It's hard to get him to sit lower in this pose, but you kind of want to. If he's on the bottom shelf, I've got the Bestas lifting it up. But from where I'm sitting, like I'm holding the camera a little lower, from where I'm sitting, the light kind of blocks the top of his head, just a little bit. So I'd be looking to move him up a bit, so I can look at him like eye level. Because like I said, these figures really pop. I'm pretty happy. So let's look at some of the accessories. So I removed the 2 time stone stuff. He's got some other astral projections. A lot of cool hands doing like weird poses. Here's your basic fists. It looks like these are gripping ones. These 2 are gripping ones. These are just fists. An extended hand, pretty standard. Extended hand, pretty standard. And then, yeah, doing 2 poses. And then these 2 are the weirdest poses. And he also has like relaxed hands, which are actually inside because I left them in there. So let's actually, bear with me one moment. Why don't you stare at them as I open this up. So Hot Toys added 2 Eye of Agamottos, one that is closed and one that is open, and 2 sling rings. I didn't feel like they needed to add 2 Eye of Agamottos. I'm glad they did, because if you guys remember, I did my Dark Knight graphic novel. It's on Facebook called The Dark Knight Legacy. But like things like this, little details where I can show it closed and open. Like if I ever decide to do a Marvel one, which I am thinking about doing, because I have so many Marvel characters. If I ever decide to do this, like stuff like this comes in handy. So I'm pretty pleased with this release overall. Some larger astral projections, which I probably will never use, if I'm being quite honest. Another one I'll probably never use. Here's the sword he fought Thanos with. Pretty cool. Looks very screen accurate. Very nice. Doctor Strange isn't like the hand-to-hand combatant for me. For me, he's more this guy or like the Thousand Arm guy. So I probably will not display this, but it is very nice. Oh wait, and then these bands, I forget what they're called, but they are called something. And I don't even know exactly how to make him wear it. I'm sure it's in the directions, but like I just like the paintwork is great. It looks good, and even in the movie, this had like a nice color to it. But in a detail, like this is a lot of real estate, something long like this. So I will probably not use it for that reason as well. Down here, you've got like a giant projection, which I'm not sure what this is for. I know something like this was included in the original. It's just too big. I don't want something that big blocking the figure. I like slightly more subtle displays. I know I've got a lot of museum poses, but also like I'm not married to the museum poses. I like a little bit of dynamic posing. Like I really, really, really like that Daredevil pose. That's Daredevil with the Deadpool mod. People always ask me if I'm willing to sell Luke Cage. I am not, and especially now that the show's canceled. So, yeah, I mean they're a bit subtle. Like I don't use all the like crazy accessories. Like those spider legs are probably the loudest accessory my figures use. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Then you have the stand, which is a small stand, which I appreciate instead of having that giant triangle thing because I would never use it. As you can see, Ancient One is on a black stand. I have my Justice League figures on black stands. And I will slowly be transitioning most of my collection to the black oval stands. My Defenders are all on those. And the reason is just like you can fit more, like that whole Dark Knight case is all black ovals. You can just fit more, which I'm not always in favor of clutter, which like this is a bit cluttered, but it's a theme. And then that's a bit cluttered, but it's also a theme. And then that's a bit cluttered, but it's also a theme. And it's also because I need space for the other Justice League figures. So, and also I like the Dark Knight trilogy so much that I would like for them to all be displayed. And I have those risers in the back, the glass risers. You can see them here too. Acrylic. You can get those custom made. Mine are 14 and a half because the detail is 15 inches across. They're 14 and a half and then 2 inches up and 2 inches across. Or, I don't know, 2 inches tall, 2 inches length. I don't know, what is it volume? Length times width times height. What's the difference between length and width? You know, it's 2 inches this way and then 14 and a half that way. I mean, it's obvious, but whatever. Just so you know, for any international people. Alright, what else? So, yeah, I mean, this is such a badass figure, but mainly because the character is so badass to me now. And the reason for that is because of, like, this pose, this moment in the movie, and the Thousand Arm one, and, you know, just some of his lines. So for me, like, this is the best pose I can do for him, and I probably won't change it for a long time until I can get those arms, in which case I'll wear that for a long, long time. Yeah, so, like, the accessories are great. This is definitely one, like, I'm happy I waited for. I did not buy the first version, so I'm really pleased about that. But yeah, like, this is overall a solid solid purchase. Very pleased. Especially since Hot Toys has kind of been blowing it lately. Let's talk about some recent releases. Black Panther. I was hoping to buy the T'Challa head sculpt and put it on there, but I saw a guy on Facebook who posted it, and the neck is like really high up and small, and that was really disappointing, so I don't think that's going to work for me right now. And then there's also a rumor that Thor may have a shaved head in Endgame, so like that'll be kind of cool because then he'll look more like a Viking with a beard, like Ragnar Lothbrok if you watch Vikings. I could get into that. What else? Oh yeah, recent Hulkbuster 2.0 came out today. I'll just talk while I show you guys my collection. Hulkbuster came out. It was a Power Pose figure, so I have zero interest in it. I don't have the first one, mainly due to space issues, but it did nothing for me, so whatever. The other one is Thanos. Thanos, I have not had a look at. Well, I mean, that's not true. I've had a look at him. I've decided to pass, and I decided to pass early on, like before the figure came out. And admittedly, he looks cool, but I never liked that tank top look. And with some of the toy spoilers, you know, the toy spoilers that you see like from the little action figures, he's got armor, and it looks like he might have the gauntlet too. So that would certainly be one you want to wait for, I think. Also, an interesting theory that I discussed on the podcast on our last episode, the Lego movie one. We also do new like movie news. So we were discussing a theory that Thanos is a mutant, because if you listen to my Infinity War spoiler review, I discussed why was he so muscular? Like, he's jacked. It's kind of weird. Like, he's almost like the Jor-El of Titan, and he's like I don't know. He's just ridiculously muscular, and I just thought that was a weird design choice. Like, if he's gonna use the gauntlet, why does he need the muscles? Like, they use that logic for the armor. Like, he doesn't need the armor anymore. Well, then why does he need the muscles? Like, as a character, I don't know. It seemed like he would always be in pursuit of the stones, not like relying on his own body to do the job. But especially if he had that army, the Chitauri army, and then the Outriders. But it seems like his purple skin, his scars, and his extreme muscles might be the result of mutation. And I wonder if somehow this will lead to like the first mutant in the MCU. And we also discussed, like, wouldn't it be cool if the first mutant in the MCU was Apocalypse? Like, I know he's not from ancient Egypt, but what if he, like, what if they really took it slow? They didn't do like some weird dimensional change where suddenly there are like 200,000 mutants in the world. What if it was just like literally the first one just appears? Like, that would be interesting. He's just born this way. And start with some, like, a version of Apocalypse. Except he's not Apocalypse yet, I guess. Anyway, just a thought. But yeah, this Thanos, like, I'm gonna pass. I hope that the next one comes with 2 sculpts, because I really like the angry expression one. But yeah, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the locks to rise up this shelf right here next to Hulk where the Punisher is. I'm gonna rise that up, and that's probably gonna be Thanos, and probably the Black Order if they get made. I have a theory that we're gonna see the Black Order again, because they were a little too throwaway. I know they were meant to be like minions and someone for the Avengers to fight when they weren't fighting Thanos, but I felt like I feel like there's more to them. So we'll see. In this case, this is the part where I usually do concept art, and well, we have a choice to make, because his outfit is pretty close to what we saw. Sorry, I'm just moving around. To what we saw in Infinity War. And so the early design would have been in Doctor Strange. let's have a gander. Introduction, the accident, camouflage. Who the fuck is that guy? The compound, Baron Mordo. We should be seeing more of him soon, right? Camouflage, Soul Rama. Admittedly, I have not actually had a chance to go through this. Let's look at the ancient one. Black? No, I like the color she has. Interesting braids though. Go back to the Celtic. I don't like that. I like the like sort of bald look with the mohawk. I know you can barely see it, but like that. Purple? That could have been something. Here we go. Just beautiful art design for this movie. Tau Sanctuary. Come on, where's Doctor Strange? Astral Ride. Chapter 2. Some other thing. Wong. What is unseen? Is it? Ooh. I like this. Wow, they could have gone a lot scarier. Okay, so this is transformation. Was he going to transform at one point? The Zealots. I kind of liked how they looked. Okay, I may have missed Doctor Strange at some point, I think. Chamber of Relics. Maybe not. The cloak had some interesting designs on it. Okay, the Sorcerer Supreme. Okay, pretty similar to what we got here. I like this. I like how the sanctum thing. Well, I guess that's already on the actual figure itself too. Pretty cool. This seems old school, but I don't like it. It's almost a little too much. Maybe for the next one. Nah, not enough red. This I don't mind. It's based on something from the comics. I can't remember exactly. And the astral projection. Okay, well I think that's it. What's coming up next? I think I'm going to get the Aquaman Justice League version, not the Aquaman movie version, so that could be next. Killmonger was supposed to come out soon. Haven't seen that yet in a while. What else? I ordered Ant-Man and the Wasp, which probably will come early. And yeah, I have Obi-Wan. That seems like I ordered that a long time ago. But yeah, so probably Aquaman and possibly even The Flash will be my next purchases. All right. So feel free to check me out on Instagram at the Iron Koob. Listen to my podcast, The Iron Koob Fights Movies. We have a little section now where like one of the co-hosts presents me with a scenario, and I have to use my fighting skills to like resolve some sort of situation. It depends. And it's usually like a character from the movie or a scenario from the movie. Check out my Dark Knight trilogy graphic novel called The Dark Knight Legacy on Facebook. So search for that page. And subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my reviews. Alright, I will see you guys next time.